Thank you very much. You're probably wondering what an aging intelligence officer is doing at a TED Talk. Well, I went to UNC and go Heels. And the second thing is, I had a great career. I worked 47 years at the Central Intelligence Agency. I worked 3 years as the Undersecretary at Homeland Security. And for 7 of those years, I was the Assistant Director of Central Intelligence for collection, optimizing collection against all the intelligence disciplines. I just want to make it very clear that all of these times were good times, but they were really bad times as well. This is a time for real turbulence, I think you all know what I talk about because we're having a national conversation about this. What I want to do is talk about 3 things. First, of course, is the collapse of the Soviet Union and where that left the U.S. intelligence community. And then second, I want to talk about the rise of Al-Qaeda and international terrorism. And third, the dilemma that we face today, the conundrum dealing between how to deal with big data, bulk data as the president called it, and then how to preserve liberty within our Constitution. I think it's important that you all need to know that the intelligence community is very complex. It's not just CIA and NSA. They get the notoriety, but there are 14 other agencies that contribute overall to intelligence and make intelligence what it is today and what it has been. Well, at the end of the Cold War, the United States had an intelligence capability that was second to none. We were and we remain the only truly intelligence service in the world, truly global in the way we do things. No one can match the U.S. collection, the U.S. analytic capabilities, or U.S. technologies when it comes to intelligence. We are number one. But at the end of the Cold War, we drew down intelligence. Hundreds of CIA officers retired. They retired because there were incentives given to them to leave early. Our capabilities, our budgets were slashed. And we were the national foreign intelligence community. We focused very strongly on overseas, on threats there. And that was, domestic intelligence was a purview of the FBI. It was not our responsibility. It was law enforcement. So we were very, very focused. We knew in the summer of 2001 that a major attack was going to occur against the United States, but we thought it was over there. We thought it was somewhere in the Middle East, Africa, South Asia. We buttoned up all our military, all of our diplomatic facilities. We got word out to the private sector of where U.S. interests were involved. But, as you know, Al-Qaeda struck, and it struck in our homeland. We failed, and we failed terribly. Those of us who were at CIA headquarters that day, September 11th, 2001, it is very much palpable within us today, our failure, and how serious and how grave it was to the country. But what do we do? In response, we went on the attack. CIA, NSA, other intelligence agencies, and the U.S. military, all of the U.S. military, but especially the U.S. Special Command, they went on the offensive. And over a period of years, we put Al-Qaeda on the back foot. We disrupted hundreds of plots across the world. We were very global in our attack. We disrupted hundreds of Al-Qaeda cells. And what do we have today? Well, today we have Al-Qaeda the core, the central core, decimated and sort of impotent in Waziristan, in the tribal areas of Afghanistan. That's very good. But what has happened? What has happened is that Al-Qaeda's ideology lives on. We have Al-Qaeda networks in West Africa, North Africa, East Africa. We just heard a speaker talk about Al-Shabaab. We also have Al-Qaeda in Yemen, very vigorous. We have above all, Al-Qaeda in South Asia, and we have Al-Qaeda in Syria. The sectarian war, the Sunni-Shia war, is making a huge difference in the growth of extremism. It's not just hundreds of cadres, thousands of individuals have been pulled into the Syrian war, which is horrific. Tens of thousands have died, tens of thousands have been wounded, and there's no end in sight to this. It is incredibly violent. One of the things, of course, that, as you know, we killed bin Laden in May of 2011. This was a seminal event, but at the same time, the ideology continues to grow. We have a number of West Europeans, several hundred, who have fought in Syria, and they're now starting to return to West European countries. We have dozens of Americans, actually, who have fought in Syria, and some are starting to return. These are trained extremists. These are individuals that know how to make bombs and how to fight. So we really still have a very major problem on our hands globally. And it's going to be a very long, very hard problem for us to deal with. The one thing that we found very difficult, and the big challenge and the reason it is turbulent, it is trying to deal with the new mountains of information. We live in an information age. We have globalization. We have where people can communicate and form networks globally, virtually at will. And there are innumerable sub-networks within the internet that work very well. I want to make it very clear that we in intelligence, we applaud the internet. The internet was developed by the United States, as the president said the other day. It was never built to build security within it. And it has advanced the world immeasurably in so many ways. It was developed by the United States for very opposite reasons. It was find self-healing networks after nuclear war, believe it or not. That's sort of incongruous when you think about it as to the way it's used today. But it also has empowered individuals and groups to do harm and to move to do harm to the United States, whether overseas or here in the United States. It is a small number of people can wreak violence on our society. If you have read the Director of National Intelligence threat assessment, unclassified statement he made to the Congress a few days ago, the threat list is very long. It's pretty grim. It's not just counterterrorism. It's the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction technology. It's failed societies. It's sectarian wars. It is regional instability. It is cyber attack, and our critical infrastructure is at risk here in the United States. So we do have these problems. But we also have a problem of how to deal with big data. And as you know, the United States has been looking at big data and the analytics. The intelligence community is part of that strong effort. But the United States has been buffeted in recent times by the leak of highly sensitive information. Edwin Snowden, he actually leaked a lot of very sensitive information. Sources and methods, he put human lives at risk. I don't think there's any question of that. And the real issue then, of course, is how to deal with this question. The president appointed a review group. The review group met last year. It reported out early this year. And it made a number of recommendations. The president, in his 17 January speech of this year, talked about it. And he talked about what was good. He said that we cannot protect unless people can keep secrets. You know, we cannot keep Americans safe, and he cannot conduct foreign policy. So we have to have secrecy. And how to deal with that secrecy is the real question. The president praised the National Security Agency, its workforce, its leadership. I've known all of them for the last 30 years. And NSA officers are very passionate indeed about protecting the privacy, civil rights, and civil liberties of Americans. They really are. Very complex protocols and rules under which they operate. But they operate, in my view, quite effectively. As General Hayden, one of my friends at the Chertoff Group, former head of NSA and CIA, he said, CIA officers run to the sidelines. They get chalk on their cleats. Well, NSA officers stay far away from those sidelines. But at the same time, how to deal with the data and how, for the intelligence community, to be able to identify threats, to find anomalies, to find patterns of extreme behavior or people wishing to do extreme malice in the United States, or to find the unknown unknowns. That's very hard. It is my view that we're doing a good job, but at the same time, we also recognize we got to have public trust and confidence. The Director of National Intelligence and all the leaders of the community believe in that. And the real question comes down to how much security you want and how much liberty do you want? And those are the questions of our day. This is a turbulence in which we now find ourselves. And this is where we will be, I think, for a long time to come. At the same time, the President, after making some decisions relating to oversight, more oversight and more transparency, and asked for some more options, kept the NSA programs where they are. We're continuing to collect that hated word, metadata. Not all of it, but some of it that we think is very important. I speak with a bias, but I also speak from the heart. Our job is to protect America, and we will do that. And the U.S. intelligence community will do that always within the law. Thank you very much.